Have fun and enjoy. Mercury and Malice. In a world of lies, love is the ultimate takeover. By Löwenstein. Chapter 1. The Gilded Betrayal. The ballroom of the St. Regis shimmered like a vault of gold, crystal chandeliers casting diamonds of light over Wall Street's elite. Sophia Delacroix adjusted the emerald pendant hidden beneath her blouse, a family heirloom from a lineage that quietly controlled half of Europe's private equity. Her fiancé, Ethan Cole, stood at the bar, his laugh echoing too loudly as he clinked glasses with men whose fortunes he'd once mocked. "Champagne, Miss Delacroix?" A waiter offered a flute, its bubbles catching the light like liquid ambition. "Thank you," she smiled, her fingers brushing the stem. 5 years of bankrolling his hedge fund through shell companies. Tonight, he'll finally know it was me. Ethan turned, his Armani tuxedo hugging the shoulders she'd once traced like a promise. "There you are." He kissed her cheek, his breath tinged with bourbon. "Ready to make me the luckiest man alive?" Sophia's pulse quickened. The emerald felt heavy against her skin. "Actually, I have a surprise." "Ladies and gentlemen," a microphone screeched. The crowd parted for Allegra van Derlyn, her scarlet gown slashing through the room like a warning. "I'm thrilled to announce my engagement to Ethan Cole and our merger with Cole Capital." The room erupted in applause. Sophia's glass slipped, shattering on the marble. Ethan didn't flinch. "Soph, be reasonable. Allegra's father owns Van Derlyn Holdings. This is bigger than us." "You're marrying her?" The words tasted like ash. Allegra materialized, her diamond ring catching the light. "Darling, didn't Ethan tell you? We've been securing terms for months." She smirked, lowering her voice. "Though I hear you're quite the expert on silent partnerships." Sophia's nails bit into her palms. She knows. They both know. Ethan sighed. "You're a brilliant analyst, Soph, but let's be real. You're not exactly wife material for a CEO." The room spun. Sophia's blouse clung to her skin, the emerald burning like a brand. She forced a laugh, sharp and cold. "Congratulations. I'd wish you luck, but—" Her gaze flicked to Allegra. "You'll need more than his strategic alliances to survive a recession." She turned, heels clicking a staccato beat toward the exit. A hedge fund titan blocked her path. "Rough night, sweetheart. I've got a junior analyst position open." "Keep it." She slid a card from her clutch, black, embossed with a crest even he recognized. "When your Saudi oil deal collapses next week, call me." Outside, rain needled her face. Her driver approached, umbrella in hand. "The jet's ready, Ms. Delacroix. Zurich or Shanghai?" She glanced back at the golden glow of the ballroom. "Neither. Take me to the vault." In a subterranean garage, biometric scanners hummed as steel doors revealed walls of safety deposit boxes. Sophia opened box 237, withdrawing a dossier stamped Cole Capital. "Miss?" Her driver hovered. "Shall I contact the family office?" "Not yet." She traced Ethan's forged signatures, her voice glacial. "First, I want every share he owns shorted, every loan called in, every secret he thinks I never knew." The emerald glinted as she snapped the dossier shut. Somewhere above, the Dow Jones ticker began its inexorable climb toward ruin. Chapter 2. The Bargain. The dive bar's neon sign flickered like a dying stock ticker, its cracked letters spelling "Happy Hour Forever" in a sickly pink glow. Rain slashed at the windows as Sophia hunched over a sticky table, her trench coat reeking of subway grime and her hair tucked under a Yankees cap. The bartender eyed her like she might bolt without paying for the bourbon she'd ordered. Twice. "Let him think I'm broke," she thought, tracing the emerald pendant beneath her sweater. Let them all think it. Across the room, a man in a wrinkled Armani suit slammed his empty glass on the bar. "I'm good for it, Tony. Charge it to Ashford Capital's tab." The bartender snorted. "Your tab's thicker than a bankruptcy filing. Cash or get out." Sophia watched as the man fumbled through his pockets, tossing out lint, a Metro card, and a pawn ticket for a Rolex. His green eyes burned with a desperation she recognized, the kind that clawed at your ribs when the world thought you'd lost. "Here." She slid a 20 across the bar, her voice flat. "Leave him alone." The man turned, his gaze raking over her thrift store coat and scuffed boots. "Charity? Tax write-off." She returned to her booth, but he followed, collapsing into the seat opposite her like a condemned man. "Julian Ashford." He extended a hand, his knuckles bruised. Currently ranked Forbes most likely to live in a cardboard box. "Sophia." She ignored his hand. Jilted ex of a hedge fund cockroach. Cheers. He barked a laugh, sharp and humorless. Ethan Cole's fiancé? Saw the Bloomberg alert. Cole Capital merges with Van Derlin Holdings in record engagement deal. Brutal. Sophia's grip tightened on her glass. What's your sob story? Insider trading? Ponzi scheme? Inheritance deadline? Julian flagged down the bartender for 2 more whiskeys. Grandfather's will says I marry by midnight tomorrow, or his $200 million trust dissolves. Turns out Julian Ashford, Wall Street prodigy, can't get a date in all of Manhattan. He knocked back the shot, his voice lowering. And after today's Wall Street Journal piece, even the gold diggers are fleeing. Sophia studied him, the aristocratic jawline, the once expensive shoes, the way his hands trembled slightly. Not a predator, a cornered animal. What's your offer? He leaned in, the scent of cedar aftershave cutting through the bar's stale beer stench. Marry me. 6 months. I get the trust. You get... He hesitated. I'll pay you $500,000. No money. His brow furrowed. What? She peeled the label off her bottle, her tone casual. I want a seat on your board. Full access to Ashford Capital's trading algorithms. Julian froze. Why? To gut Ethan Cole. Her smile was a blade. I'll even throw in a prenup. He stared at her, then burst into laughter. You're either insane or brilliant, and since I'm desperate... He pulled a crumpled contract from his jacket, smoothing it on the table. But we marry tonight. Lawyers need proof by dawn. Sophia scanned the document, her pulse quickening at phrases like non-disclosure and board privileges. She pointed to a clause. Add this. Partners retain autonomy over personal assets, Julian scribbled in the margin. You hiding a fortune under that Walmart coat? Yes, she deadpanned. I'm the lost Delacroix heiress. Now sign before I change my mind. He snorted but scrawled his name. Sophia followed, her true surname buried under 5 years of lies. The courthouse was a graveyard of bad decisions, its fluorescent lights buzzing over peeling linoleum. The justice of the peace blinked sleepily as they rattled off vows, her dentures clicking. Rings, she mumbled. Julian produced 2 vending machine bands, plastic gems glued to tin. Tiffany's was closed. Sophia slid hers on, the cheap metal cold against her skin. Charming. Outside, rain soaked them instantly. Julian shoved his hands in his pockets, shoulders hunched against the storm. My place is a work in progress. She followed him to a walk-up above a bodega, its stairs reeking of cat urine. The penthouse was a studio with a mattress on the floor and a hot plate. Chateau Ashford, he muttered, kicking a pile of Financial Times clippings. Temporary. Sophia tossed her bag onto a milk crate. Relax, this isn't a honeymoon. His phone buzzed, a reminder. Trust dispersal, 12 HRS, submit proof of marriage. We need photos, Julian grimaced. Grandfather's lawyers want evidence of mutual affection, dinner, dancing, maybe, a kiss. She gagged. Absolutely not. No kiss, no board seat. They glared, inches apart. Fine. Sophia grabbed his tie, yanking him into a collision of lips and teeth. His hands found her waist, calloused fingers pressing into her spine. The kiss was all heat and fury, whiskey and spite, until it wasn't. When they broke apart, Julian's voice was rough. That wasn't terrible. She wiped her mouth, her heart racing. Don't get used to it, he smirked, tossing her a key. Welcome to wedded bliss, partner. As he left to file the paperwork, Sophia unclasped her necklace, the emerald glowing in the dim light. On the floor, Julian's pawn ticket caught her eye. Rolex Daytona, $15,000. She texted her driver, buy a Rolex. Pawn shop on 8th, leave no trail. Outside, thunder cracked like a starting pistol. Chapter 3. Paper Contracts. Ironclad Lies. The trading floor of Ashford Capital buzzed like a hive on amphetamines, screens flashing red and green as analysts shouted into headsets. Julian slouched in his glass-walled office, his tie loose and sleeves rolled to the elbows, glaring at a spreadsheet. Sophia stood at the window, her thrift store blazer clashing with the skyline's diamond gleam. Your algorithms are outdated, she said, tossing a file on his desk. Cole Capital's using AI to predict oil futures. Yours still rely on 2015 regression models. Julian didn't look up. And your expertise comes from, what, stalking Ethan's LinkedIn? From cleaning up his messes. She leaned over his shoulder, her jasmine perfume cutting through the coffee fumes. See this? Her finger tapped the screen. Van Derlin's over-leveraged in Saudi oil. Short it and their merger crumbles. He finally met her gaze. Why help me? Because your bankruptcy would inconvenience me, she smirked. Also, I hate Allegra's taste in shoes. A knock interrupted them. Elena Rossi swept in, her Balenciaga trench coat dripping rain onto the carpet. Darling, she purred to Julian, ignoring Sophia. I heard about your creative liquidity solutions. Need a bailout? Sophia snorted. He needs a time machine. Julian's jaw tightened. We're fine. Are you? Elena tossed the Wall Street Journal on his desk. Ashford Capital's free fall. Is the wonder kind washed up? My father's offering a loan. Terms are flexible. Sophia plucked the paper away. Tell Daddy his offshore accounts in the Caymans aren't as hidden as he thinks. Elena's smile froze. Excuse me? The 2018 transfers? Sloppy. Sophia flicked imaginary lint off her sleeve. Now run along. The adults are working. Later, in the dim glow of a 24-hour diner, Julian pushed a plate of greasy fries toward her. How do you know about Elena's Cayman accounts? I read SEC filings for fun. Sophia dunked a fry in ketchup. Also, her father's CFO has a gambling problem, and a mistress, and a very chatty bartender. He leaned back, studying her. Who are you? Your wife? She wiped her hands on a napkin. Temporarily. His phone buzzed. A notification from the NYSE. Van Derlen's stock had plummeted 12%. Sophia smiled. Told you to short Saudi oil. Julian stared at the screen, then at her. You're terrifying. Stick around. She stole his coffee. I'll get scarier. They worked until dawn, blueprints and takeout containers littering the floor. Julian's sleeve brushed her arm as he reached for a pen, his warmth seeping through her thin sweater. Here. He tossed her a keycard. For the office. Don't steal the staplers. She pocketed it. Wouldn't dream of it. As she left, he called after her. Why no salary? Everyone wants money. She paused in the doorway, rain slashing the windows behind her. I want Ethan Cole's empire in ruins. Your algorithms are the scalpel. His laugh followed her down the hall. Remind me never to cross you. Back in her apartment, a penthouse disguised as a janitor's closet, Sophia opened a hidden safe. Inside, deeds to oil fields and diamond mines glinted beside her grandmother's pearls. She traced the Delacroix crest, her reflection warped in the emerald's facets. Patience, she told herself. Burn coal first, then rebuild. Her burner phone lit up, a coded message from Zurich. Funds transferred. Awaiting instruction. She deleted it, then dialed Julian. Meet me at the docks tomorrow. Wear something expendable. Why? We're auditing a shipping container. Of what? Ethan's illegal lithium imports. She smiled. Bring bolt cutters. The line crackled. Remind me why I married you. For my charm. His chuckle warmed the static. Liar. At the docks, fog clung to rusted shipping containers like a shroud. Julian arrived in a leather jacket, his hair salted with mist. This feels felonious. Sophia tossed him gloves. Only if we're caught. They pried open container 237. Inside, crates of lithium batteries bore Coal Capital's logo. Holy hell! Julian snapped photos. How'd you find this? Allegra's manicurist talks after 3 martinis. She pocketed a shipping manifest. Now call the Times. He grabbed her wrist. This could get you killed. She stepped closer, their breath mingling in the cold. Then you'll be a widower. How tragic. He didn't let go. Why trust me? I don't. She pulled free. But you're useful. As they slipped into the shadows, a figure watched from the fog. Ethan's enforcer, snapping their photo. By morning, the Times headline blazed, Coal Capital's illegal trade scheme exposed. Julian found Sophia on his office couch, her feet propped on an ancient Bloomberg terminal. You're insane, he said, tossing her a croissant. Brilliant, but insane. She caught it mid-air. Wait for the next act. His phone rang. Elena. He silenced it. What's next? Sophia stood, her eyes glacial. We bankrupt Van der Linde. Outside, storm clouds swallowed the sun. Chapter 4. The Jade Gambit. The Metropolitan Museum of Art's Great Hall glittered like a vault of stolen stars, its marble floors polished to a lethal sheen. Sophia adjusted the weightless silk of her qipao, its emerald embroidery echoing the jade phoenix pendant hidden beneath the fabric. Julian stood beside her, his hand hovering at the small of her back as if unsure whether to claim or comfort her. Smile, he muttered through clenched teeth as cameras flashed. They're calling us the barbarians of Wall Street this week. Sophia's lips curved, cold and flawless. Better than Bankrupt Bride, no? Across the room, the air curdled. Ethan Cole strode in with Allegra Van der Linde draped over his arm, her laughter a scalpel slicing through the murmur of financiers and socialites. Allegra's gaze locked onto Sophia, her diamond choker catching the light like a dare. "Ah," Julian said dryly. "The vultures are circling." Sophia's nails bit into her clutch. "Let them." The auction began with a Ming Dynasty vase, a twin to the one Sophia's mother had sold to pay her childhood debts. The bidding soared past 7 figures, Ethan's smirk widening with each raise. "Going once," the auctioneer crooned. Sophia lifted her paddle. 10 million. The room stilled. Julian stiffened. "What are you doing?" Ethan's face flushed. 11. 15, Sophia counted, her voice smooth as the vase's celadon glaze. Allegra hissed in Ethan's ear. He hesitated, veins bulging. 16. Sophia tilted her head, a queen conceding to a jester. "All yours." The gavel fell. Ethan's triumph curdled as the auctioneer announced, "Sold to Xuanyuan Holdings." Murmurs erupted. Xuanyuan, a shell company even Julian didn't recognize. Sophia's shell. "You," Ethan choked. "Xieshi," Sophia said sweetly, inclining her head. "Thank you." Julian's mother materialized. Her Chanel No. 5 clashing with Sophia's jasmine perfume. "Clever parlor tricks," she sneered, "but you'll drag him down with you when the world learns you're a nobody." Sophia's smile sharpened. "Funny, I was about to say the same to you." Before Eleanor could retort, Julian swept Sophia onto the dance floor, his grip firm. "Xuanyuan Holdings? A hobby. You bankrupted Ethan's fund for a hobby?" "No." She met his gaze, her steps flawless. "I did it for the look on his face." The orchestra swelled, strings throbbing like a heartbeat. Julian's thumb brushed her hip. "Who taught you to fight like this?" "Survival isn't taught," she said, her Mandarin slipping like a secret. "It's inherited." They spun under the chandelier, her jade pendant warm against his chest. For a moment, the mask slipped. Hers, a flicker of vulnerability. His, a hunger he couldn't name. Outside, paparazzi ambushed them. "Mr. Ashford, over here!" Julian shielded Sophia, his hand settling possessively on her waist. The next morning, tabloids would plaster the photo with headlines, "Cutthroat couple sinks coal." But that night, in the back of the town car, Julian stared at his CFO's frantic text. Ashford stock down 8% pre-market. Board blames marital instability. Sophia watched the city blur, her reflection a sphinx in the glass. "They'll come for you tomorrow." "Let them." He pocketed his phone. "You're worth the fall." She stilled. No one had ever said that to her, not even herself. Chapter 5. The Poison Pill. The boardroom of Ashford Capital hummed with the sterile chill of impending mutiny. Julian stood at the head of the mahogany table, his knuckles white against the polished surface, as a slideshow of plummeting stock prices glared from the screen. Eleanor Ashford's voice cut through the silence like a scalpel. "This marriage is a liability," she hissed, her diamond brooch catching the fluorescent light. "Divorce her, or we vote you out." Julian's jaw tightened. "The only liability here is your lack of vision." Board member number 3, a walrus of a man with a Cuban cigar tucked behind his ear, slapped a dossier on the table. "Van Derlin Holdings is circling. They've acquired 18% of our shares overnight. You're handing Ashford to Ethan Cole on a silver platter." Ethan. The name hung in the air like poison. Julian's mind flashed to the auction. Sophia's quiet triumph, the jade pendant burning against her collarbone. "I'll handle Van Derlin," Julian said, though the lie tasted bitter. "Handle them?" Eleanor laughed. "They've partnered with René Laurent. You're outgunned." Across the city, Sophia sat in the dim glow of a private library, her fingers flying across a keyboard. Delacroix encryption codes flickered on her screen as she routed $200 million through shell companies in Singapore and Luxembourg. Coded message to Zurich: acquire 12% Ashford shares. Keep it silent. Claire materialized at her shoulder, a dossier in hand. "René's men are moving the Van Derlin shares through offshore accounts. He's got a personal interest in your downfall." Sophia's smile was ice. "Tell the brokers in Geneva to short Van Derlin's lithium futures. Let's see how Allegra enjoys bankruptcy." That night, Julian stormed into their penthouse, his tie undone and fury blazing. "You've been buying Ashford shares. Why?" Sophia didn't look up from her chessboard, where a jade phoenix figurine faced down a battered silver knight. "To save you from your own pride." He gripped her wrist, sending pieces scattering. "I don't need your charity." "No," she said, rising to meet him. "You need a partner who sees the battlefield clearer than you do." The air crackled. Julian's gaze dropped to her lips. What's your endgame, Sophia? You. The kiss was a collision, angry, desperate, alive. Her fingers tangled in his hair, his hands anchoring her waist as the chessboard clattered to the floor. When they broke apart, Julian's voice was raw. Who are you? Before she could answer, his phone buzzed, a text from Eleanor. Emergency meeting. Van der Lin's upped their stake to 25%. The Voss merger is our only out. Sophia's eyes hardened. Celeste Voss? Julian nodded. My parents' solution. Marry her, merge Ashford with Voss Industries, and hand Ethan the scraps. Sophia plucked the silver knight from the floor, its edges dull with age. Then let's give them a new solution. At dawn, Julian faced his parents and Celeste Voss in a private dining room at Le Bernardin. Celeste's smile was a polished weapon, her father Victor's gaze calculating. Sign the merger, Victor said, sliding a contract across the table. Or watch Ashford crumble. Julian glanced at Sophia, who stood in the shadows, her emerald chapeau blending into the velvet drapes. She gave a barely perceptible nod. No. Eleanor's champagne flute shattered. You'll ruin us. Sophia stepped forward, her voice silk and steel. He'll save you. She tossed a file on the table. Proof of Van der Lin's embezzlement, Renee's offshore accounts, and Ashford's newly stabilized shares. How? Celeste whispered. Sophia's jade pendant glinted. A gift from Delacroix Industries. They're rather invested in Ashford's future. As the Voss family retreated, Julian pulled Sophia close. Delacroix? That's your play? She pressed a finger to his lips. Wait for the gala. The next morning, headlines screamed, Ashford Capital resurrected by mystery investor. Eleanor stormed into Julian's office, her composure cracked. Who is she? Julian stared at the photo from the auction. Sophia's defiant smile, the jade phoenix blazing. The woman who just outplayed you all. As the door slammed, Sophia texted Claire, Phase 2, initiate. The gala will be their end. Somewhere offshore, René Laurent watched the news, a detonator in his hand. A bientôt, chérie, he murmured. See you soon. Chapter 6, Gilded Chains. The penthouse elevator dinged, its sound slicing through the hum of Bloomberg terminals. Julian froze mid-sip of coffee, his mother's voice ringing out like a bell. Darling, we've brought breakfast. Sophia glanced up from her laptop, her hair in a messy bun, wearing Julian's old Yale sweatshirt. Are those your parents? Hide the ramen, he hissed as Eleanor and Charles Ashford swept in. Trailed by a butler wheeling a silver cart of truffle omelettes and champagne. Eleanor's gaze pinned Sophia. And you are? The janitor, Sophia deadpanned, stacking financial reports. Just scrubbing your son's liquidity crisis. Charles chuckled, cold as a ledger. Cute. Julian, we're hosting the Kensington Gala tonight. You'll escort Clarissa Van Horn. Clarissa? Julian's fork clattered. The merger-hungry heiress? Her family owns 30% of Wall Street's ETFs, Eleanor said, eyeing Sophia's thrift store sneakers. Not that you'd understand ETFs, dear. Sophia smirked. Exchange-traded funds? How quaint. I prefer manipulating them. The gala was a viper's nest of crystal and whispers. Clarissa Van Horn clung to Julian's arm, her diamond choker winking under chandeliers. Daddy says we'll merge Ashford Capital with Van Horn & Co., after the wedding, of course. Sophia, posing as a waitress, dropped a canapé onto Clarissa's plate. Careful. Caviar's high in Mercury. Julian stifled a laugh. Clarissa scowled. Do I know you? Sophia, Julian's wife. The room stilled. Eleanor's champagne flute shattered. Back at the penthouse, Eleanor's scream could have cracked glass. Divorce her. That nobody will ruin us. Julian stepped between them, his voice steel. She stays. Sophia leaned against the window, Manhattan's lights at her back. Don't bother. I'll leave. No. Julian's hand brushed hers, electric. We have a contract. Eleanor tossed a dossier. We dug into her. Nothing. No family. No assets. She's a ghost. Sophia's emerald pendant burned. If only they knew. Later, Julian found her on the rooftop, the wind stealing her breath. Why defend me? He traced the city's skyline. You see through the bullshit. Even mine. She turned, their lips inches apart. Your parents are laundering money through Van Horn's ETFs. He froze. What? Clarissa's merger? It's a cover. They're funneling cash to offshore shells. She handed him a flash drive. Enough evidence to bury them all. Julian stared, awe and fear warring. Who are you? She walked away, her whisper lost to the wind, the one who'll watch them burn. In the shadows, Clarissa dialed Ethan. She's on to us. His laugh grated. Then kill her. The line went dead. Sophia's reflection glinted in the elevator doors, sharp and unyielding. Let them try. Chapter 7. Gilded Traps. The Ashford family estate loomed like a mausoleum, its marble floors echoing with centuries of quiet greed. Eleanor Ashford's stilettos clicked like a metronome as she circled Sophia in the grand parlour, the scent of gardenias and old money thick in the air. A marriage licence, she spat, flinging the document onto a Louis XIV table. Easily annulled, especially when one party is indigent. Sophia sipped her tea, the porcelain thin as a threat. Indigent? I've doubled your son's liquidity in 3 weeks. Charles Ashford chuckled, lighting a Cuban cigar. Through luck? Or have you forgotten the SEC's interest in your methods? Julian stormed in, his tie askew and fury blazing. Enough, she stays. Eleanor's smile turned venomous. Clarissa's lawyers are drafting a merger. Sign the annulment, or we'll leak your little wife's non-existent credentials to the press. Sophia set down her cup, the clink slicing through the tension. Leak this instead. She slid a photo across the table. Eleanor and Clarissa's father at a Cayman bank. Your offshore accounts look lovely in black and white. The room chilled. Julian's breath hitched. You knew? Eleanor lunged, but Sophia was already at the door. Tick-tock, Mrs. Ashford. The Times loves a good morality tale. Downtown, at a dimly lit jazz bar, Julian gripped his whiskey like an anchor. Why protect me? Sophia spun her wedding ring, a cheap vending machine band around her finger. You're useful. Your parents' empire crumbling is poetic. He leaned closer, his cedar scent cutting through the smoke. And if I want more than useful? Her pulse fluttered, but she smirked. Careful, Ashford. Sentiment's worse than margin calls. The door burst open. Clarissa stood silhouetted against neon, her voice a poisoned dart. Julian, darling, Daddy's cancelling Ashford's credit lines, unless you're unmarried by dawn. Sophia rose, smooth as a blade. Tell Daddy his lithium smuggling operation's next on my list. Clarissa's composure cracked. You'll regret this. Already do. Sophia tossed cash on the bar. I wanted a challenge. 3 a.m. at Ashford Capital. Julian paced his office, shadows hollowing his eyes. They'll come for you now. Sophia hacked into Van Horn's servers, her screen a blur of code. Let them. I've buried worse men than Ethan. He gripped her chair, spinning her to face him. This isn't a game, isn't it? She stood, her gaze level with his. You want out? Tear up the contract. His jaw flexed. No. The air crackled. Distant sirens wailed. Why? She whispered. He cupped her face, callous thumb grazing her cheek. Because you're the only real thing in this hellscape. The kiss was wildfire, raw and reckless, bourbon and desperation. Sophia pulled back first, her voice unsteady. This complicates things. Julian's grin was feral. Good. The elevator dinged. Clarissa's henchman stepped out, a syringe glinting in his hand. Sophia sighed. Right on schedule. Julian shoved her behind him, but she was already moving. A stiletto heel jammed into the man's knee, a taser pressed to his throat. Tell Clarissa, she hissed. Her next shipment's already been rerouted to Interpol. The man fled. Julian stared. Where'd you learn to do that? Finishing school. She smoothed her hair. Pack a bag. We're hitting Van Horn's warehouse tonight. He laughed, wild and bright. Remind me to marry you properly someday. Dream bigger, Ashford. She tossed him a bulletproof vest. We're bankrupting your parents next. Dawn streaked the sky as they crouched behind a shipping container, the harbour reeking of salt and diesel. Julian's shoulder brushed hers. Still think I'm just useful? Sophia's smirk softened. Don't push your luck. A shout echoed. Guards circled. She gripped his hand. Ready? His fingers laced with hers. With you? Always. They vanished into the shadows, the game escalating with every heartbeat. Next morning, headlines blared. Van Horn's warehouse raided. Billions in stolen goods seized. Clarissa's call came as Sophia dressed, her voice trembling. You win. Call off the dogs. Sophia fastened her emerald pendant. I don't stop. I end people. She hung up, Julian's reflection appearing in her mirror. Coffee? And croissants. He kissed her neck. We've got an empire to burn. Outside, Manhattan buzzed, oblivious to the storm brewing in a corner office, and the heiress who'd soon own it all. Chapter 8. The Reckoning. Ethan's face dominated every screen in the luxury mall, his smarmy grin plastered beneath the headline, Coal Capital's Comeback Press Conference, live at 8 p.m. Sophia crushed her coffee cup, the bitter dregs staining her fingers. We're crashing it. Julian eyed the Gucci store across the atrium. You'll need armor for that circus. Let's shop. Prada's chandeliers hummed with judgmental light. Sophia held up a razor-sharp black blazer, its price tag hidden. Too subtle. Perfect, Julian smirked. Like a widow at a funeral. A laugh like shattered crystal cut through the air. A funeral for your dignity, maybe. Allegra materialized, Ethan trailing behind her like a lapdog. Her manicured finger flicked Sophia's thrift store tote. Cute. Does it come with food stamps? The sales associate snickered. Sophia's grip tightened on the blazer. Still wearing Ethan's desperation as perfume, I see. Allegra's smile faltered. Security. This vagrant is harassing me. A paunchy guard lumbered over, radio crackling. Ma'am, I'll need you to leave. Sophia didn't move. Check the cameras first. She approached me. Save it, Ethan drawled, slipping his arm around Allegra. This mall bans trespassers, even delusional ones. The guard grabbed Sophia's arm. Julian stepped forward, but she shook her head, digging into her wallet. Here. She tossed a black card at the guard. It clattered to the floor, embossed with a golden D. He snorted. Nice fake. Out. Wait. The store manager froze mid-stride, her eyes locked on the card. She scooped it up, fingers trembling. This is a Delacroix VIP pass. Platinum tier. Silence. Allegra laughed. She's a Delacroix? Impossible. They're owners of this mall, the manager finished, bowing as she handed the card back. Ms. Delacroix, your private suite is ready. Shall I clear the store? Sophia's smile could have frozen hell. No, let them stay. They'll want to see this. With a snap of the manager's fingers, racks of couture descended from hidden panels. Julian whistled. You own this place? Technically, my father does. She selected a blood-red gown, but yes. Ethan paled. Allegra's veneer cracked. You're lying. The Delacroix heir is standing right here. Sophia turned to the manager. Cancel Cole Capital's lease, effective immediately. Ethan choked. You can't. Watch me. She tossed the gown to Julian. Wrap this. I've got a press conference to ruin. At dusk, they stood outside Cole Capital's tower, paparazzi swarming. Julian adjusted his tie, his reflection sharp in the glass doors. Ready? Sophia's emerald pendant glinted under the streetlights. I've waited 5 years for this. Inside, Ethan's voice boomed over the crowd. Brightest chapter yet. She stepped into the spotlight, her gown pooling like molten rage. Let's dim the lights, Ethan. Cameras exploded in flashes. Allegra screamed. Julian grinned, and the Delacroix heiress began her siege. Chapter 9. Smoke and Mirrors. The scent of ink and ambition clung to the morning newspapers strewn across Julian's desk. Crazed imposter claims Delacroix name, blared the Wall Street Journal. A paparazzi shot of Sophia tossing her VIP card splashed beneath the headline. Julian crumpled the paper, his coffee gone cold. Ethan's calling you unstable, says you forged the card. Sophia stood at the floor-to-ceiling window, her reflection a razor-sharp silhouette against Manhattan's skyline. Let him talk. The more he lies, the harder he'll fall. Julian circled her, his tie loose and sleeves rolled. That manager backed you. Why doesn't anyone else believe it? She turned, her smile cryptic. Would you believe a woman in a thrift store coat? I believe you. He stepped closer, the cedar and whiskey scent of him cutting through the sterile office air. Even if you're lying. The phone rang. Ethan's sneer filled the speaker. Enjoy your 15 minutes, Sophie. The SEC's auditing Ashford Capital at noon. Sophia snatched the receiver. Tell them to bring coffee. It'll be a long day. The boardroom reeked of stale panic and overpriced cologne. SEC agents swarmed, their fingers flying over laptops as Julian's CFO sweated through his Armani shirt. This is retaliation, Julian growled, slamming a ledger. Ethan's puppet show. Sophia glided in, balancing a tray of espresso cups. Gentlemen, black or poison? The lead agent blinked. Who's this? Consultant. She set a cup before him, her emerald pendant swinging. You'll want the Cayman Islands file, page 207. Interesting withdrawals. The agent paled. How did you? Trade secret. She leaned in, her whisper silk and steel. Drop the audit, or I leak every offshore secret your boss buried. Later, in the vaulted silence of an empty trading floor, Julian cornered her. You blackmailed the SEC. Negotiated. She adjusted his tie, her fingers lingering. Ethan's losing allies. Time to strike. He caught her wrist. Who are you? The elevator dinged. Allegra stormed in, her diamond bracelet screeching against a bottle of champagne. Celebrating, darling. She thrust the bottle at Julian. Daddy's buying Ashford's debt. You're done. Sophia plucked the bottle, reading the label. 2008 Krug Clos d'Ambonnet, Ethan's favourite. She smashed it against the desk, shards glittering like betrayal. Tell him the Delacroix send their regards. At midnight, they hunched over laptops in Julian's loft, takeout containers littering the floor. Sophia's hair fell in a curtain, hiding the screen as she hacked into Van der Lin's servers. Ethan's funneling cash through dummy core, here and here. Julian traced the glowing lines of code, his shoulder brushing hers. You're terrifying. Beautiful, but terrifying. She froze, his breath warm on her neck. This is business. Is it? He turned her chair, his gaze stripping her armor. Why fight my battles? Because you fight with me. Her voice frayed. Not for me. The laptop buzzed. An alert. Ethan's face filled the screen, live from a Monaco yacht. To new beginnings, he toasted, Allegra's laughter tinkling like broken glass. Sophia's fingers flew, the room pulsing with the click-clack of keys. Let's give him an ending. Dawn bled through the blinds, as Julian woke to Sophia asleep at his desk, her cheeks smudged with ink from financial reports. He draped his jacket over her, the emerald pendant cold against her skin. His phone lit up, a message from an unknown number. She's not who you think. He deleted it, watching her breathe. Doesn't matter. Outside, the city stirred, unaware of the storm gathering in a quiet loft, and the heiress who'd soon rewrite every rule. Chapter 10. The Shadow Gambit. The glass atrium of Cole Capital's headquarters buzzed with the electric hum of anticipation, camera flashes slicing through the sterile air. Sophia lingered at the edge of the crowd, her emerald pendant a silent sentinel beneath her blouse, as Ethan took the podium with Allegra clinging to his arm like a trophy. Today marks Cole Capital's rebirth, Ethan declared, his voice slick with triumph, a testament to vision and loyalty. His gaze locked onto Sophia, sharp as a scalpel. Julian materialized beside her, his shoulder brushing hers. You sure about this? He's got the media eating from his palm. Sophia's fingers tightened around the flash drive in her clutch. Let him choke on his lies first. A reporter shouted, Any response to rumors of offshore fraud? Ethan chuckled, palms raised. Baseless attacks from those threatened by success. His smirk widened. Though I do pity delusional souls who invent grand legacies. Allegra's laugh dripped venom. Like claiming to be a Delacroix? Pathetic. The crowd murmured. Sophia stepped forward, voice slicing through the noise. Ask him about the $200 million discrepancy in Van der Lin's liquidity reports. Silence fell. Ethan's jaw twitched. Security! Answer the question, Cole. Julian strolled to the front, hands in pockets. Unless math scares you. Cameras swiveled. Ethan's knuckles whitened on the podium. Fabrications! This woman's a known fraud. Sophia mounted the stage, heels echoing like a death knell. She plugged the flash drive into the AV system. The screen lit with wire transfers, shell companies, timestamps, all leading to Ethan. Exhibit A. Funds funneled to offshore accounts. Yours. Allegra's. The room erupted. Ethan lunged, but Julian blocked him, voice a growl. Touch her, and I'll dismantle you digit by digit. Allegra shrieked. She's a nobody, where's her proof? A ripple of doubt spread. Sophia hesitated, too soon for the final move, when a commotion erupted at the entrance. A silver-haired man in a tailored suit strode in, flanked by bodyguards. The crowd parted, whispers erupting. Lucien Marchand, CEO of Viridian Holdings. Ethan paled. Lucien? What? Marchand ignored him, addressing Sophia with a curt nod. Miss Chen, your tip about Cole's lithium smuggling was illuminating. He tossed a dossier to the press pool. Viridian severs all ties with Cole Capital, effective immediately. Chaos erupted. Reporters mobbed Marchand, shouting questions. Chen? Julian's brow furrowed, but Sophia gripped his arm, steering him away. Who the hell is Chen? He muttered. An alias. Marchand owes me a favor. She quickened her pace, Ethan's roar chasing them. Outside, rain slashed the pavement. Julian spun her to face him. You knew Viridian would back you? Why not lead with that? Because Ethan's not the only one watching. She flagged a cab, her gaze darting to a black sedan idling across the street. Someone's been digging, my father's enemies. Julian tensed. You're using me as bait. No. She met his eyes, rain streaking her cheek. I'm trusting you as a shield. The sedan's engine revved. Julian shoved her into the cab, sliding in after. Where to? The docks. There's a container with evidence Ethan can't spin. As they sped away, Julian studied her, the way her fingers trembled slightly, the haunted shadow in her gaze. "You're not just a disgraced analyst, are you?" Sophia stared at the storm, her reflection fractured in the window. "Ask me when this is over." At the docks, they pried open container 112B. Inside, crates stamped with Delacroix shipping logos, filled with forged coal capital contracts. Julian whistled. "Your family's been setting him up for years. Not my family, me." She snapped photos, her voice hollow. "These forgeries are flawless. Only someone with Delacroix-level resources could have made them," he stilled. "But you're not. A Delacroix?" She laughed bitterly. "According to the world? No. According to Ethan's panic?" She tossed him a burner phone. "Keep that. When the time comes, you'll know who to call." The sedan reappeared, headlights spearing the fog. Sophia grabbed Julian's hand. "Run!" They vanished into the labyrinth of shipping crates, the truth trailing them like a shadow. Chapter 11. Whispers in the Dark. The docks blurred into a metallic labyrinth as Sophia and Julian sprinted between shipping containers, the roar of the sedan's engine echoing off steel walls. Rain lashed their faces, mixing with the salt sting of the harbour. "Left!" Julian barked, yanking Sophia into a narrow gap as headlights sliced past. Their breaths heaved in unison, pressed chest to chest in the damp darkness. "They'll circle back," Sophia whispered, her fingers curling around the burner phone. "We need to move." Julian's laugh was ragged. "Got a helicopter in that clutch of yours?" "Better," she dialed, voice clipped. "Container 27B now." A motorcycle's growl answered, skidding to a stop nearby. A figure in black leather tossed them helmets. "Vite!" Julian froze. "Who's this?" "Claire," Sophia said, swinging onto the bike. "She drives." "And doesn't ask questions," Claire added, her French accent sharp as her glare. Julian barely gripped Sophia's waist before they shot into the night. Safe House, Lower Manhattan. The loft smelled of stale coffee and paranoia. Claire tossed a folder onto a scarred oak table. "Ethan's buying judges, 3 so far." Sophia flipped through the documents. "Cheap, he's desperate." Julian paced, sleeves rolled to his elbows. "We leak the contracts. He'll claim they're fake. We need leverage." "Already have it." Sophia slid a photo across the table. Ethan meeting a known arms dealer. From Claire's last job in Marseille. Julian's eyebrow arched. "You moonlight in arms dealing now?" Claire smirked. "I moonlight in ending arms dealers. Bienvenue to the real world, monsieur." Sophia's phone buzzed, a string of encrypted coordinates. She stood abruptly. "We need to go." Julian blocked her path. "Who's pulling your strings, Sophia? Another alias? Another favor?" Her gaze flickered. "Someone who wants Ethan gone as much as I do." "And me?" He stepped closer, rain still glistening in his hair. "Am I just another pawn?" Claire coughed. "Mon Dieu, must I watch this telenovela? The coordinates, now, Sherry." Abandoned warehouse, financial district. The air reeked of rust and betrayal. A man emerged from shadows, his face scarred, voice a gravelled threat. "You're late." Sophia didn't flinch. "You're alive. Consider it a courtesy." The man, Vincent, slid a USB across a rusted table. "Ethan's offshore accounts, passcodes reset at midnight." Julian crossed his arms. "Why help us?" Vincent's laugh was a dry rasp. "I owed her father a debt." Sophia stiffened. Julian's eyes narrowed. "Enough." She snatched the USB. "We're done here." Vincent grabbed her wrist. "Tell him the deal's square." She wrenched free. "Tell him yourself." Rooftop, 3 a.m. Wind whipped Sophia's hair as she stared at the city's pulse. Julian joined her, shoulder brushing hers. "Your father, he's alive." "No," her voice cracked. "He's a ghost, and ghosts don't pay debts." He turned her to face him. "But you do." The kiss was raw, urgent, a collision of trust and doubt. Sophia pulled back first. "This changes nothing." "Liar." He thumbed her cheekbone. "You're protecting someone." A gunshot cracked below. They dropped, hearts hammering. Claire's voice crackled through their earpieces. "We've been made. Move." Ethan's penthouse. Dawn Allegra smashed a vase, shards skittering across marble. "She humiliated us again." Ethan scrolled through plummeting stock prices. "Call the Sicilian. Offer double. To kill her. To make her wish she'd never been born." As Sophia and Julian fled through subway tunnels, a news alert blared from a passing phone. Breaking. Delacroix Group Air declared. Press conference at noon. Sophia froze, blood draining from her face. Julian gripped her arm. "What is it?" She met his gaze, the truth ablaze at her throat. We're out of time. Chapter 12. Masquerade. The ballroom of the Ritz-Carlton dripped with chandeliers and lies, the air thick with the cloying sweetness of gardenia arrangements and the sharp tang of champagne. Sophia adjusted the black lace mask clinging to her face, her emerald pendant hidden beneath a gown the color of bruised twilight. Julian's hand rested at the small of her back, his tuxedo blending with the shadows. "Remember," he murmured, his breath warm against her ear, "we're here for the software glitch, not the fireworks." She nodded toward the stage, where a banner declared Delacroix Ire announcement in gilded letters. "Ethan's puppet show starts in 10 minutes. Stick to the plan." The crowd's murmur. Allegra materialized in a cloud of opium perfume, her mask a glittering spiderweb. "Still cosplaying nobility, Sophie." She flicked her diamond bracelet. "Adorable." Sophia sipped champagne, her voice honeyed steel. "Careful, Allegra. Even spiders get crushed underfoot." Julian intercepted a waiter, swapping his tray for one bearing oysters. "Van der Lin's shell companies are circling the drain. Hungry?" Allegra paled. "You're bluffing." "Check the Nikkei index," he said, popping an oyster into his mouth. "Down 8% at open. Oops." The stage, Ethan strode to the podium, his mask a veneer of gold. "Ladies and gentlemen, meet the true Delacroix heir," a woman emerged, her gown a cascade of counterfeit pearls. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Julian stiffened. "That's not." "A fraud," Sophia finished, her nails biting her palms, "but convincing." The impostor lifted a trembling chin. "I am Isabelle Delacroix, heir to the La Roche diamond mines." Sophia's laugh sliced through the room as she mounted the stage. "Odd. Those mines closed in 1992. Your father," she air-quoted, "sold them to buy a yacht, which sank." The crowd buzzed. Ethan's smile twisted. "Proof?" Sophia tapped the podium's tablet, pulling up satellite images. "Here's the wreck, and here's your heir's real name, Clara Bissett, Marseille, 2 convictions for fraud." The screen flashed arrest records. Chaos erupted. The escape. Julian gripped Sophia's elbow, steering her toward the service exit. "Ethan's goons are flanking the doors. Then we improvise." She yanked him into a linen closet, their breaths mingling in the dark. "This your idea of a safe house?" His thumb brushed her collarbone, finding the emerald's chain. "Focus. There's a car in the alley." He didn't move. "Why didn't you expose yourself tonight? You had the crowd, the proof." Her mask slipped, revealing the fracture in her armor. "Some truths destroy more than they save." Footsteps pounded past. Julian cupped her face, his voice raw. "I'd follow you into hell. You know that, right?" The closet door flew open. Allegra stood framed in light, a derringer glinting in her hand. "Hell's exactly where you're headed." The revelation. Sophia stepped forward, unflinching. "Shoot me, and every offshore account you own goes public, including the ones Ethan doesn't know about." Allegra's hand wavered. "You're lying." "Am I?" She smiled. "Check your Swiss ledger. Password, Marseille 1992. The gun clattered to the floor. Julian lunged, pinning Allegra as Sophia swept past. "Tell Ethan the game's rigged, and I'm the house." The aftermath. In the alley, Julian pressed her against the cold brick. "You're playing a dangerous hand." She fisted his tuxedo shirt. "You still in?" His lips found hers, a collision of fear and want. "Try getting rid of me." A black sedan screeched to a halt. Claire leaned out, engine idling. "Maintenant ou jamais." As they sped away, Sophia's phone buzzed. A single alert. Unknown number. "He knows you're alive." She deleted it, the emerald a cold weight against her skin. "Not yet," she vowed, "but soon." Chapter 13. Silent Salvation. The air in Ashford Capital's boardroom crackled with tension, the scent of bitter coffee and stale ambition clinging to the mahogany table. Julian stood shoulder to shoulder with Sophia, their hands discreetly brushing beneath the table as his parents and Celeste Voss glared from across the room. Celeste's father, Victor Voss, drummed his fingers on a merger contract, his voice slick with condescension. "Sign the agreement, Julian," Victor said, sliding the papers forward. "Merge Ashford with Voss Industries, marry Celeste, and we'll clear your debts. Refuse, and your mother's legacy collapses by sunrise." Sophia's gaze remained steady, her emerald pendant hidden beneath a tailored blazer. She squeezed Julian's knee, a silent signal. "Hold the line." Julian leaned back, jaw set. "I don't negotiate with blackmailers." Celeste's laugh tinkled like broken glass. "Blackmail? We're offering salvation, unless your wife plans to magically conjure a lifeline." Sophia's phone buzzed, A coded notification. Deal secured. She smiled faintly. Why don't you check your inbox, Mr. Voss? Victor scowled but clicked open his tablet. His face paled. What is this? A Bloomberg alert flashed across the screen. Luminex Capital offers Ashford $200 million loan at 0% interest. Julian's brow furrowed. Luminex, I've never even spoken to them. Sophia feigned surprise. A guardian angel, it seems. Victor slammed his fist on the table. Luminex is a Delacroix subsidiary. They don't invest in sinking ships. Apparently they do, Sophia said coolly, though her pulse raced. Too close. Julian's parents exchanged panicked glances. His mother hissed, This changes nothing. The Voss merger is still our only. No. Julian stood, emboldened. Ashford isn't yours to sell anymore. Midnight strategy. Back in their penthouse, Julian paced, sleeves rolled and tie abandoned. Luminex's offer, it's too good. There's a catch. Sophia poured 2 whiskies, her hands steady. Maybe they see potential others don't. He took the glass, studying her. You've been quiet all night. No theories? She shrugged. Perhaps someone at Luminex has a soft spot for underdogs. His gaze lingered. Or a grudge against the Voss family. Sophia sipped her drink, the lie smooth on her tongue. Either way, use it. Crush them. The charity gala. The ballroom glittered with false smiles and sharper diamonds. Sophia stood beside Julian, her gown a cascade of midnight silk, as Celeste slithered toward them. Enjoy your borrowed time. Celeste sneered, her grip tightening on Victor's arm. Luminex won't save you when the truth comes out. Sophia's assistant, discreetly posing as a waiter, tripped, spilling champagne down Celeste's ivory gown. Clumsy fool. Celeste shrieked, drawing gasps and stifled laughs. Julian smirked, leaning close to Sophia. Convenient accident. Karma, she replied, eyes glinting. The revelation. In the garage, Julian cornered Sophia beside their car. Luminex's CEO requested a meeting. With you. She froze. Why? He wouldn't say. Julian stepped closer, his voice a low rumble. But I'm starting to think you've got friends in high places. Sophia met his gaze, the truth a blade balanced between them. Trust me, Julian, that's all I ask. He cupped her face, thumb grazing her cheek. I do, but one day I'll uncover all your secrets. She kissed him, pouring every unspoken promise into it. Be careful what you wish for. The fallout. At dawn, Victor Voss's empire crumbled. Luminex leaked documents to the SEC. Embezzlement, fraud, threats. Ashford's stock soared as Voss Industries plunged. Julian's parents stormed into his office, faces ashen. How did you? Luminex's lawyers sent everything, Julian said, tossing the damning files. Turns out Karma's a shareholder. Sophia watched silently from the doorway, her Delacroix signet ring burning in her pocket. One secret safe, for now. The whisper. That night, Julian traced the edge of Luminex's contract, frowning. Delacroix. Why does that name feel familiar? Sophia turned out the light. Sleep. Tomorrow's another battle. As he drifted off, she typed a covert message. Delay all Luminex audits. Keep the trail buried. The reply came instantly. Yes, Miss Delacroix. Outside, thunder rumbled, a storm mirroring the tempest she'd unleashed. Chapter 14. Boardroom Bloodsport. The Ashford Capital boardroom hummed with the icy precision of a guillotine, its glass walls reflecting the storm clouds gathering over Manhattan. Julian stood at the head of the table, his knuckles white against the polished mahogany, while Sophia sat motionless in the shadows, her Delacroix signet ring cold against her skin. This is no longer about leadership, hissed Eleanor Ashford, Julian's mother, her diamond brooch glinting like a weapon. It's about survival. Your refusal to divorce this. Nobody has cost us the Voss merger. The stock is plummeting. Resign, or we vote you out. 12 pairs of eyes locked onto Julian, their owners a cabal of old money sharks in Brioni suits. Sophia's gaze flicked to the clock, 10:02 a.m., as her assistant Claire, disguised as a paralegal, slipped a tablet into her hands under the table. The trap-sprung board member number 3, a relic with a tobacco-stained smirk, slid forward a dossier. We've secured 42% of shareholder votes to remove you. Sign quietly and we'll let you keep your dignity. Julian's laugh was a live wire. You mean your dignity when the SEC uncovers your kickback schemes? He tossed photos of the board's secret Cayman meetings onto the table. How's your stock going to fare when these go public? The room erupted. Sophia's fingers flew across the tablet, executing trades only a Delacroix could orchestrate. You've bled this company dry with your sentiment. sneered Eleanor Ashford, Julian's mother, her diamond brooch glinting like a shard of ice. The Voss merger was our lifeline, and you threw it away for a sham marriage. She slammed a financial report on the table. Quarterly losses, 42%. Shareholders are fleeing. Resign, or we vote you out. Julian's jaw tightened. Ashford isn't a pawn for your backroom deals. Board member 3, a walrus of a man with a cigar-stained grin, chuckled. Sentimentality doesn't pay debts, boy. We've secured 51% of the votes. He slid a termination agreement across the table. Sign, or we'll make your exit ugly. The atmosphere instantly froze in an Arctic blizzard, pressing its claw tight as a steel mountain around Julian's chest. Sophia's hand drifted to her lap, her fingers tapping a coded sequence into a sleek device hidden beneath the table. Message sent. Chapter 15. The Boardroom Gambit. The Ashford Capital boardroom crackled with the static of impending betrayal. Julian stood at the head of the table, his knuckles whitening around the edge of his leather chair, while Sophia sat calmly beside him, her smile a blade sheathed in silk. Across the table, the board members, a coven of tailored suits and venomous stares, leaned forward in unison. The trap springs. You're a disgrace, Eleanor hissed, rising to her full height. Your father would have loathed what you've become, Julian finished, his voice steel. He built this company on integrity, not blackmail. Sophia's phone buzzed, a single green light. She interlaced her fingers, serene as a predator. Gentlemen, perhaps you should check the markets. Board member number 7 snorted. Markets don't lie. Ashford's crashing. As if on cue, the doors burst open. Claire, Sophia's razor-sharp assistant, strode in, her heels clacking like gunfire. Apologies for the interruption, she said, dropping a gilded contract on the table. A gift from Delacroix Industries. The room froze. Julian's gaze snapped to Sophia, who merely arched a brow. The Counter-Striker Bloomberg alert screamed from every phone. Ashford stock surges 18% on Luminex buying spree. Lies, board member number 7 barked, face flushing puce. You're grasping at, Julian froze. Luminex again. Sophia rose, voice soft but lethal. Seems the market disagrees with your assessment. Eleanor's veneer cracked. Who are you? His wife. Sophia met Julian's stormy gaze, her mask flawless. And your new majority shareholder. The revelation, Claire projected a holographic ledger onto the wall. Luminex Capital now holds 51% of Ashford's voting shares, acquired through third-party brokers this morning. The board recoiled. Julian's pulse roared as he deciphered the truth. Sophia's late-night coding marathons, her cryptic calls, the way Luminex's moves mirrored her strategies. Claire flipped open the contract. Delacroix has agreed to absorb all Ashford debts and inject $500 million in capital. Terms: 0 interest, no board seats, no strings. She paused, smirking. Signed this morning. Eleanor's face drained of colour. Delacroix? Why would they? Because, Sophia said, rising smoothly, they recognise potential. Unlike you. The board erupted. This is a trick. Delacroix doesn't rescue sinking ships. Claire projected the signed agreement onto the wall, the Delacroix crest gleaming beside Julian's stunned face. Authentication codes alive. Call your brokers. The Tide Turns phones buzzed. Gasps rippled through the room as Ashford's stock surged another 31% in seconds. Julian stared at Sophia, realization dawning. You did this. She leaned in, her whisper a velvet threat. I told you to trust me. Eleanor collapsed into her chair, trembling. Who are you? Sophia's smile deepened. The woman who just saved your son's legacy. The aftermath. In the hallway, Julian gripped Sophia's wrist. Delacroix doesn't throw lifelines to strangers. What's the price? She traced his jaw, her touch electric. Maybe they see what you're worth. He stepped closer, anger and awe warring in his eyes. Don't play games with me, Sophia. Before she could reply, Claire materialized, her voice urgent. The press is here. They're calling it the miracle bailout. Sophia slipped free, her smile unreadable. Time to smile for the cameras, Mr. Ashford. As they walked toward the lobby, Julian's hand brushed hers. One day, he vowed under his breath, I'll unravel you. The whisper in the elevator, Sophia typed a covert message. Phase 2, initiate. Somewhere in Zurich, a vault hummed to life. Later, in the penthouse, Julian cornered Sophia against the floor-to-ceiling windows, rain lashing the glass behind them. Luminex is yours, isn't it? She didn't flinch. Does it matter? It matters if you're playing me. His thumb grazed her jaw, fury and awe colliding. Why? Because you fight for the company, not the crown. Her breath hitched as his lips brushed her ear. And because I won't let them break you. The whisper. At midnight, Sophia encrypted a message to her Zurich vault. Burn the Delacroix merger blueprints. It's off the table. Julian watched from the doorway, her silhouette etched in moonlight. One day, he vowed silently in repetition, I'll unravel you. But for now, the storm raged on. Chapter 16. The Poisoned Pawn. The scent of burning coffee and desperation clung to Ashford Capital's trading floor as Julian glared at the Bloomberg terminals, their screens flashing red. Another leak, he growled, slamming a report on the desk. Renee's pressuring shareholders to call an emergency vote. How the hell is he getting our internal memos? Sophia stood at the window, her reflection a calm mask against the storm-grey sky. He's bribing your IT director. A wire transfer to a Cayman account yesterday. She tossed a dossier behind her without looking. It skidded to a stop at Julian's fingertips. He flipped it open. Photos of Renee's henchman handing a briefcase to a man Julian had trusted for years. And you just knew this? I pay attention. She turned her Delacroix signet ring glinting as she tapped her temple. Fire him quietly. Let Renee think we're blind. Julian's laugh was razor-edged. Blind? He's gutting us in broad daylight. Sophia closed the distance, her stilettos silent on the polished concrete. Gutting requires a knife. I'm handing you the hilt. Her gaze locked onto his, unflinching. Do you trust me, Julian? Or do you want to keep screaming at shadows? He stepped closer, the cedar and whiskey scent of him clashing with her jasmine perfume. Trust? You've got more secrets than a Swiss vault. Some secrets, she murmured, her breath grazing his jaw, are armor. The doors burst open. Claire strode in, her tablet glowing with urgency. Renee's at the docks, intercepting the Singapore shipment. Sophia's smile turned feral. Perfect, let's go. The docks, a symphony of steel rain, needled the air as Sophia and Julian crouched behind a rusted shipping container, the harbour's sodium lights casting long shadows. Across the pier, Renee's men pried open a cargo crate marked Ashford Medical Supplies. Antibiotics, Julian muttered. Our biggest contract. Not anymore. Sophia nodded to Claire, who crouched in the shadows with a detonator. Wait for my signal. Renee emerged from the fog, his silver-tipped cane clicking like a metronome. Empty, he barked. Where's the... Sophia stepped into the light. Looking for these? She held up a vial labelled Ashford Pharma. Renee's grin faltered. You switched the shipment. Poetic, isn't it? She tossed the vial. It shattered at his feet, viscous liquid hissing. Placebo, just like your threats. He lunged, but Julian intercepted, slamming him against the crate. Touch her, and I'll dismantle your empire bolt by bolt. Renee spat blood, laughing. You think she's on your side? Ask her about the Delacroix bid for your ports. Julian froze. Sophia's mask slipped, just for a heartbeat. Now, Claire, she ordered. The dock erupted in smoke. Claire yanked Julian back as Sophia pressed a blade to Renee's throat. Tell your masters, she hissed. The Delacroix play long games. The aftermath. Trust fractured bore. Back at the penthouse, Julian paced like a caged wolf. What bid? Sophia poured 2 whiskies, her hand steady. A contingency. If you'd fallen, I'd have bought Ashford to protect it. From yourself. From vultures like Renee. She handed him the glass, their fingers brushing. I won't apologize for saving you. He drained the drink, fire in his veins. And the gala? 5 days. You'll have every answer. She stepped into his space, her voice softening. But tonight, I need you to choose. Fight beside me, or walk away. He caught her wrist, the emerald pendant cold against his thumb. Why? Because, she whispered, you're the only one who sees me, not the heiress, not the ghost, me. The confession hung between them, fragile as glass. Midnight, the pact. Claire burst in, her tablet blaring an alert. Renee's shorting Ashford stock. Margin calls hit at dawn. Sophia didn't look up from the chessboard, her queen advancing. Release the FDA approval early. Flood the market. Julian raised a brow. You had the FDA in your pocket? No. She smirked. I had patience. He moved his knight, cornering her king. Checkmate. Not yet. She leaned forward, her lips grazing his ear. The game's just beginning, the whisper. As dawn bled into the sky, Renee stared at his plummeting stock, a photo of Sophia and Julian at the docks burning in his fist. Prepare the gala contingency, he snarled into his phone. She wants a war? Let's bury her in diamonds. In Zurich, a vault hissed open, revealing rows of gala invitations stamped with the Delacroix crest. Sophia's father smiled, a dossier labelled Julian Ashford glowing in his hands. 5 days, Chapter 17. The Boutique Gambit. The air in La Maison d'Etoile crackled with tension, the scent of tuberose and disdain clinging to the gilded racks of couture. Sophia trailed her fingers along a gown of midnight silk, its silver embroidery catching the light like shards of ice. The saleswoman hovered, her painted lips pursed as she eyed Sophia's understated blazer and jeans. "This one," Sophia said, lifting the hanger. "That requires an appointment," the woman sniffed. "And a deposit." Sophia arched a brow. "Does it require basic competence? Because you're fresh out." The bell above the door chimed. Allegra van Derlyn swept in, Ethan trailing behind her like a leashed dog. Her laugh was a razor wrapped in silk. "Darling, isn't this the woman who ruined you?" Ethan's smirk faltered. "Sophie, she's more bankrupt than her credibility." Sophia didn't blink. "Still begging for scraps, Ethan? I heard Allegra's father cut you off." Allegra snatched the gown from the rack. "This would look divine on me. Wrap it." The saleswoman simpered. "Of course, Mrs. van Derlyn." Sophia stepped between them. "I believe I was holding that." "You?" Allegra's laugh sharpened. "This dress costs more than your life." Sophia's fingers tightened on the hanger. With a vicious tug, she ripped the bodice down the middle, silk shredding like a scream. Gasps erupted. Ethan lunged, but Sophia sidestepped, sending him crashing into a mannequin. "You lunatic! Enough!" Claire's voice cut through the chaos as she strode in, flanked by security. "Ms. Delacroix owns this building. You're all fired." She tossed a contract onto the counter, the Delacroix crest gleaming. The saleswoman blanched. "Delacroix? But she's—" "Your landlord," Sophia finished, tossing the ruined gown into Allegra's arms. "Burn it. Consider it a parting gift." Allegra sputtered. "You'll regret this." Sophia leaned in, her whisper lethal. "You're a footnote, Allegra. I write the story." Security dragged Ethan and Allegra out, their protests muffled by the door's slam. Claire handed Sophia a garment bag. "The real gala dress. No theatrics." Sophia smirked. "Where's the fun in that?" Thorns in the dark. A storm-lashed industrial dock at 3 a.m., cargo ships groaning against their moorings. The air reeks of salt, diesel, and impending violence. The black van idled in the shadows, its windshield wipers slapping futilely against the torrential rain. Inside, 3 of René's mercenaries, calloused hands, faces obscured by balaclavas, watched the Floral Elegance delivery truck rumble into the loading bay. The Wolf, René's lieutenant, voice like gravel. "Go, 5 minutes." The men slipped into the downpour, silenced pistols strapped to their thighs. The dockworker unloading roses never saw the needle jabbed into his neck. He crumpled, orchids scattering like broken promises. The Wolf kicked open the truck's rear doors. "Swap the crates, now." Inside, white roses bound for the gala glowed under a penlight. The men pried open false bottoms, replacing foam-lined stems with bricks of Semtex, detonators disguised as dew-frosted petals. "Pretty bombs for a pretty party." A shout echoed. A dock guard rounded the corner, flashlight slicing through the rain. The Wolf sighed. "Idiot." A suppressed gunshot. The guard fell, his blood mingling with rainwater. Loading the last crate. "Done. Clean." The Wolf tossed a jade pendant, stolen from Sophia's penthouse, into the truck. Her signature touch. They vanished into the storm, the van's tires hissing against wet asphalt. Behind them, the floral truck sat innocently, its lethal cargo humming. The Wolf texted René. Roses delivered, thorns included. Retreat. 2 miles offshore, René's yacht cut through the tempest. He watched the dock's security feed on his laptop, sipping espresso laced with cyanide bitter liqueur. René, to his first mate, "When the gala's lights dim, detonate the east wing first. Let her watch her hero burn." "And if the Semtex fails?" René held up a second detonator, its red light pulsating. "Then I'll sink the whole damn island." The yacht peeled into the night, leaving the dock's carnage to the tide. The penthouse. Threads and truss, Julian paced, his tie loose, eyes tracking security feeds of René's smug face at the docks. "Your plan hinges on luck." Sophia stepped into a crimson gown, its neckline ablaze. "Luck is for amateurs, this is strategy." He caught her wrist. "And if he notices the swap?" She turned, her gaze unyielding. Men like him never look down. His thumb grazed her pulse. 5 days, Sophia, then no more secrets. She pulled free, her smile a challenge. 5 days, Julian, then you'll see who I really am. Renee's hubris. On his yacht, Renee toasted his reflection. Let her play dress-up. When the gala lights dim, she dies first. His lieutenant hesitated. The shipment, should we check it? Renee backhanded him. Check nothing. Arrogance is her weakness. Mine is perfection. Sophia stood at her penthouse window, the city's glow fracturing through rain-streaked glass. Behind her, the ruined gown smouldered in the fireplace, silk curling to ash. Claire appeared, silent as a shadow. It's done. Good. Sophia's reflection smiled. Let him keep his pride. It'll choke him. 5 days. A lifetime. Chapter 18. The Throne of Ashes. The grand ballroom of the Palace Hotel glittered like a gilded viper's den, its chandeliers scattering shards of light over the assembled elite. Sophia's crimson gown whispered against the marble as she entered on Julian's arm, her Delacroix signet ring a cold, hidden weight. The air hummed with champagne flutes and venomous gossip. Ashford's doomed. She's a fraud. Julian's a fool. Eleanor Ashford struck first. She materialized at the foot of the staircase, flanked by the board, a phalanx of Brioni suits and diamond-crusted spite. Resign, she hissed, thrusting a document at Julian. Sign now, or we'll have you dragged out by security. Julian didn't flinch. You'd sabotage your own son's company? Our company, board member number 3 spat, a cigar-chewing relic with Cayman sweat staining his collar. You bled it dry for your little charity projects. He turned to the crowd, voice booming. Ashford Capital is down 48% this quarter. Julian's mismanagement cost you all millions. The guests erupted in jeers. Ethan shoved to the front, Allegra smirking at his side. He's right. Julian's a puppet. He jabbed a finger at Sophia. And she's the con artist pulling his strings. Allegra tossed her hair, diamonds catching the light. Did she tell you she's broke? That ring? She fake gasped. Costume jewelry. Sophia's scalpel. Funny. I was just about to say the same about your nose. The crowd tittered. Eleanor seized the mic, her voice a serrated blade. Enough. Julian, you're finished. Sign, or we vote you out, tonight. Julian stepped forward, but Sophia gripped his wrist. Wait. She glided to the center of the room, the crowd parting like sharks scenting blood. You want to vote? Her voice sliced through the noise. Let's vote. She nodded to Claire, who stood in the shadows. The massive LED screen behind the orchestra ignited, flooding the room with data, secret offshore accounts, shell companies, forged invoices. Eleanor's face flashed beside a $20 million transfer to a private island. Board member 3 appeared next, his mistress's penthouse purchase highlighted in red. Gasps morphed into roars. Sophia raised her phone. 3 minutes. A chorus of alerts erupted. Board members scrambled for their devices, faces draining of color as notifications blared, assets frozen, shares voided, margin calls initiated. Eleanor's tablet clattered to the floor. This is illegal. No, Sophia said, ascending the staircase to the gala's host throne, a black onyx monstrosity carved with Delacroix phoenixes. This is leverage. She settled into the throne, legs crossed, her gown pooling like molten wrath. You sold Ashford's ports to launder Voss money, took kickbacks to tank Julian's mergers. And you, she pointed at Eleanor, paid off regulators to ignore your husband's embezzlement. Shall I keep going? The crowd recoiled. Julian stared at her, equal parts awe and fury. Eleanor lunged, but security blocked her. You ruined us. No. Sophia leaned forward, the throne's shadow sharpening her features. You did that yourselves. I just accelerated it. She flicked her wrist. Claire tapped her tablet, and the board members' portraits on the LED screen dissolved into terminated stamps. The room fell silent. Sophia rose, her voice a queen's decree. Ashford Capital is mine now. Julian stays as CEO. Anyone object? Ethan lunged, face purple. You lying. Security tackled him mid-sentence. Allegra screamed, clawing at her diamonds as they dragged her out. Sophia turned to Julian, extending a hand. Your move. He clasped it, pulling her close. You could have told me. And miss your face right now? Her lips brushed his ear. Never. The crowd erupted in uneasy applause. Chapter close. In the harbour, René Laurent watched the gala live stream from his yacht, a cigar clenched between his teeth. Magnifique, he murmured, tapping ash into the sea. But thrones burn, chérie. He nodded to a henchman. Phase 3. The yacht's engines growled to life, cutting through the dark. Chapter 19. The Reckoning. The ballroom's opulent silence shattered as the double doors swung open. Lucien Delacroix strode in, his charcoal overcoat billowing like a storm cloud, his presence bending the room to his will. All eyes locked onto him, the myth made flesh, the patriarch of Europe's elusive financial dynasty. Sophia's breath hitched. He came. Ethan stumbled back, knocking over a champagne tower. Impossible! You're supposed to be dead. Lucien's laugh was a low rumble. Disappointing you has always been a pleasure, Mr. Cole. He snapped his fingers. The LED screen ignited, revealing Ethan and Allegra's offshore accounts. Numbers bleeding red, transactions reversing in real time. 5 years ago, Lucien said, my daughter poured Delacroix resources into your ventures, Ethan. A mistake she rectified the moment you betrayed her. Allegra's diamond choker seemed to tighten as the screen flashed her family's debts. 2.7 billion called in immediately. Van Derlin Holdings, Lucien mused, now worth less than the lint in my pocket. Security swarmed, dragging Ethan and Allegra toward the exits. Ethan clawed at the marble floor, screaming, Sophia, you bitch! You ruined me! No, Lucien corrected coldly. You did that when you traded a queen for a pawn. The doors slammed. Silence. Lucien turned to Julian, his gaze thawing. Now, let's discuss your future. Sophia stepped forward, her voice steady but soft. Ashford isn't his, it's yours. She nodded to Claire, who produced a single sheet of paper. 6 months ago, Lucien said, Sophia acquired 100% of Ashford's shares through Delacroix proxies. Tonight, she transfers it to you. No strings, no debt. Julian stared at the document, his name glowing under the headline, Ownership Transfer, Ashford Group. Sign, Sophia said, offering a pen. It's always been yours. He hesitated. Why? Her mask slipped, raw truth spilling out. Because you fight for the company, not the crown. Because I believe in you. Julian scrawled his signature, the room erupting in applause. Lucien handed him a second dossier, Delacroix Ashford Global Partnership, $900. Your first deal as CEO, Lucien said. Don't disappoint her. Before Julian could speak, the screen flickered. How adorable, René Laurent drawled, his face pixelating across the display. A gift wrapped in lies. The lights died. Screams erupted. Sophia lunged for Julian in the dark. Stay close! A single gunshot cracked, then silence. Chapter 20, The Final Gambit. The ballroom plunged into darkness, the only light coming from René's smirking face on the massive screen. His laughter echoed, sharp and venomous. Lovely party, Mesamise. Pity it'll be your funeral. Gunfire erupted outside the locked doors, screams muffled by the walls. My mercenaries have disposed of your security, René purred, holding up a detonator. And these explosives? Far more creative than confetti. Sophia stood motionless, Julian's grip tightening on her hand. Any last words, chérie? René taunted. Or shall I paint the walls with your... Sophia's voice cut through the chaos, cold as steel. Push the button, René. He paused, then sneered. With pleasure. He clicked the detonator. Boom. The room flared with light. Not fire, but a cascade of gold and crimson confetti. The crowd gasped as René's screen split into a live feed of his yacht's hull, a timer flashing. Hour 30. What? René's grin died. Sophia stepped forward, the confetti catching in her hair like stardust. You really think I'd let you near my gala without rewiring your toys? Your explosives are on your ship. And that detonator? She smiled. It's a countdown to your extinction. The timer hit 0 grado. The screen erupted in a fireball. René's scream cut short as his yacht disintegrated into the night. Silence. Then applause thundered. The doors burst open. Security alive, René's mercenaries in cuffs. Julian pulled Sophia close, his voice raw. You knew. I planned, she said softly, but I hoped. The crowd parted as Julian dropped to one knee, pulling a ring from his pocket. A simple band engraved with the Ashford and Delacroix crests intertwined. Sophia Delacroix, he said, the room holding its breath. Will you marry me? No contracts, no games. Just us. Tears glinted in her eyes as she pulled him up, kissing him fiercely. Always. The ballroom erupted in cheers, champagne corks popping like fireworks. Outside, the harbour burned with the remnants of René's ambition, waves swallowing the ashes. Sophia pressed her forehead to Julian's, their future written in the confetti-strewn ruins of the past. To new beginnings, she whispered. To our empire, he replied. Epilogue. 1 year later, the Nasdaq bell rang as Ashford Delacroix's merger hit $1 trillion. Reporters clamoured. How'd you do it? Julian grinned, nodding to Sophia. Married a genius. She held up her left hand, the twin crests on her ring gleaming. Correction, partnered with one. Somewhere, in the depths of the Mediterranean, a charred detonator washed.